What would you do if you found out your apartment was living, breathing, draining you of your very essence, trying to kill you, trying to create something new from the corpse that you leave behind? In today's story, we'll explore this and see how our protagonist escapes. Hello, I'm CC with the Crucible of Character, and today's story was posted on the R No Sleep subreddit by Gamal Frank, and it's entitled, I finally bought my dream apartment. Now the walls are moving, and there's a breathing sound at night, but the landlord says I'm imagining it. And it starts like this. In this world, a lot of things can drive me insane, and routine is the only anchor that eases my mind. For years, it was the only thing that kept me sane. Wake up at 6 a.m., gym by 6:30, work by 8:30, home by 6 p.m., dinner at 7, in bed by 10. A perfect, predictable, controllable loop. It was my shield against a world I felt was constantly trying to chew me up and spit me out. A world of soul-sucking jobs, parasitic landlords who saw me as a walking ATM, and banks that smiled while they bled you dry with interest rates. I had one goal. One single obsession that fueled my rigid existence, to buy my own place. Not just a home, but a fortress. A sanctuary where I was the king, where the rules were mine, and where no one could leech off me ever again. After a decade of scrimping, saving, and living a life devoid of any real pleasure, I did it. I bought my dream apartment. It cost me nearly everything I had, a small fortune that represented my entire youth, but it was worth it. A corner unit on the 14th floor of a sleek, modern building, huge windows with a breathtaking view of a city skyline. It was my jewel. The culmination of my life's work. For the first 3 months, it was paradise. I would stand at the window in the evening, watching the city lights twinkle, and feel a profound sense of peace. I had finally made it. I was safe. That's what I thought anyway, until the breathing started. Because I live by such a strict routine, I noticed things, small changes, tiny deviations from the norm. And the first change was a sound. It would happen only when I was on the verge of sleep, in that quiet, vulnerable space between wakefulness and my dream. It was a faint sound, so subtle. I thought I was imagining it first. A soft, slow inhale, right by my ear. I'd jolt awake, my heart pounding, but the room would be silent. I'd write it off as the wind, or the building's ventilation system, and eventually fall into a restless sleep. Then came the movement. I have a print hanging on the wall opposite my dining table. I eat at the same time every night, in the same chair. One evening, I noticed the print was slightly crooked. I got up, straightened it, and thought nothing of it. The next night, it was crooked again, tilted in the other direction, and I could swear, if I unfocused my eyes just right, that I could see them, flexing. A slow, almost imperceptible pulse, like the sides of a giant lung. Things would fall, a book from a shelf, a fork from the kitchen counter. Never when I was looking, always when my back was turned. I'd just hear the clatter from the other room, a small, startling punctuation mark in the quiet of my evening. I was also starting to notice how empty the building was. For a new, high-end building, it was practically a ghost town. I rarely saw anyone in the hallways, never heard a neighbor through the walls. The only consistent presence was the building manager. He was an impeccably dressed man, always smiling, a placid, empty smile. The odd thing was, I kept seeing him everywhere. I'd see him in the lobby as I left for work, and then a moment later I'd see him again on the street corner, staring up at the building. I once saw him get into an elevator on the ground floor, and when the doors opened on my floor, a perfect copy of him got out. I shook my head, blamed it on lack of sleep, and hurried into my apartment. I wanted rational explanations. The breathing was my own heartbeat in my ears. The walls were the building settling. The falling objects were vibrations from the street below, but the explanations started to feel thin, stretched, like a sheet pulled too tight over a monstrous shape. Soon, the phenomena grew too loud to ignore. The faint breathing in my ear at night became a wet, labored, choking sound, a desperate, rasping gasp for air that would jolt me from sleep, leaving me drenched in a cold sweat, my heart racing. I started dreading going to bed. My sacred sanctuary that renews my sanity became a nightly ordeal. The movement of the walls became undeniable. It was a slow, deep, rhythmic inhalation and exhalation. During the day, it was almost soothing, but at night, in the dark, it was horrifying. My apartment would breathe around me. The pictures on the walls would sway. The floorboards would groan and shift under my feet. The whole structure felt organic, alive. I saw my routine getting destroyed in front of me. I realized my fortress is being conquered, and I just watched. My life was no longer a predictable loop. It was a waking nightmare. I was perpetually exhausted, irritable, paranoid. I had to do something. I went to the building manager, the smiling man who was everywhere at once. I found him in his small, neat office off the main lobby. There's something wrong with my apartment, I said, my voice tight with a week's worth of sleepless anxiety. The walls are moving. There are sounds. He just looked at me with that same placid, unreadable smile. His eyes were like polished stones. Sir, this is a brand new building, state-of-the-art construction. I assure you, it's perfectly sound. No, you don't understand, I insisted, my voice rising. It's breathing. I hear it at night. It's keeping me awake. He leaned back in his chair, the smile never wavering. You look tired, son, he said, his voice smooth as silk. Perhaps you're just overworked. Stressed from work, maybe? It happens. Get some rest. I'm sure everything will seem normal in the morning. His condescending calm, his utter dismissal. It infuriated me. But what could I do? Argue with him? Tell him his building was a living creature? He'd have me evicted for being insane. My next stop was the real estate broker who had sold me the place. The man who had shaken my hand and congratulated me on my wise investment. I found him in his swanky downtown office. The moment he saw me, his friendly professional demeanor faltered. A flicker of something. Thought it was fear or recognition crossed his face before he smoothed it over. Can I help you? He asked, his voice a little too bright. You sold me the apartment on the 14th floor, I said, closing the office door behind me. We need to talk. I told him everything. The breathing, the moving walls, the smiling manager who seems to exist in multiple places at once. As I spoke, the color drained from the broker's face. He started sweating, fiddling with a pin on his desk, refusing to meet my eyes. Look, he stammered. When I was finished, I'm sure it's just the stress of a new home. These big buildings, they make noises. Stop lying to me, I snarled. I could feel the control, the rigid discipline I'd built my life on, cracking and splintering. You know something? I can see it on your face. Why did you sell me? It's a prime piece of real estate, he said, his voice weak, reciting the sales pitch like a prayer. Great investment. Fantastic view. That's when I snapped. The deep deprivation, the constant fear, the quiet gaslighting, it all erupted into a wave of pure rage. I lunged across the desk, grabbed him by the collar of his expensive shirt, and slammed him back against his chair. His eyes went wide with terror. My life is ruined, I screamed, my face inches from his. My routine is gone. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I can't think. I have nothing left to lose. You are going to tell me what the heck has been going on, or I swear I will kill you right here in this ridiculous chair. The threat was real. I meant it. In that moment, I was a cornered animal, and I didn't care about anything but getting an answer. He broke. Tears streamed down his face, and he started blubbering, the words tumbling out in a panicked, incoherent stream. I'm sorry. I had to. He made me. Who made you? I roared, shaking him. The manager. The landlord. He's not human, the broker sobbed. The building, it's his nest, a breeding ground. What are you talking about? The apartments, he gasped, his eyes wide with terror. I was starting to understand. They're not apartments. They're eggs, each one, and they need sustenance. They feed on the life of the person inside, on their energy, their essence, their routine. It breathes in you, and day after day, the wet choking sound in my ear, the feeling of being drained. It all clicked into a horrifying, impossible sense. It feeds until what? I whispered, my rage turning to ice. The broker looked at me, his face a mask of pure, abject horror. Until it hatches, he whimpered. I didn't know what comes out. I swear, I don't know. That was the deal. I find him a new tenant, and I never have to find out. I let him go. He slumped in his chair, a weeping, pathetic mess. I walked out of his office. My mind was in shock. An egg? I was living inside of an egg, and it was about to hatch. The idea itself seemed funny. I went back to the building. I didn't know what else to do. I had to face him. I walked into the manager's office without knocking, and I found him. He wasn't alone. The office was filled with chairs, and in every single chair sat a perfect, identical copy of the building manager. There must have been 20 of them. They all had the same placid smile, the same polished stone eyes. They all turned their heads in perfect, silent unison to look at me as I entered. And then my mind just realized, and all its walls crumbled down. My legs gave out. I collapsed to my knees on the plush carpet. What do you want from me? I cried with a broken voice. All of them spoke at once, their voices merging into a single, smooth, impossibly resonant chorus that seemed to come from every direction at once. We want nothing. The deal has been made. You signed the contract. You bought the apartment. The deed is a bond, a promise. The vessel belongs to the occupant, and the occupant belongs to the vessel. Please, I begged. Let me go. I'll give it back. I'll give you anything. You cannot leave, the chorus of voices replied, the placid smiles unwavering. It is bound to you now. It will continue to feed no matter where you go. It is almost time. You have been a most nutritious tenant, so full of order, so much delicious energy to consume. The thought of what was gestating inside my walls, nourished by my own life force, made me want to vomit. So that's it? I just wait to die, wait for it to hatch? The many identical faces tilted in unison. A flicker of something that was not a smile touched their lips. There is always a choice, the voice said. The bond can be transferred. The deed can be reassigned. What do you mean? Well, the chorus whispered, leaning forward as one. You find a replacement, a new source of nourishment, a new occupant to see the progress through to its conclusion. Become a broker for us. Find someone to take your place. You will be free to never know what your apartment will hatch. And so here we are. I accepted the offer. What other choice did I have? I'm writing this post from a new office, a nice one, with a great view. My old apartment is pristine, clean, and empty, waiting. The breathing has stopped. For me, at least, I can sleep again. My routine is back. My life is my own, and all it cost me was my soul. This story, the one you've just read, is not a confession. It's not a cry for help. It's an advertisement. I know you, the person reading this late at night. You're like me. You love these stories. You love the thrill, the mystery, the brush with the abyss. You seek out the darkness. You're not afraid of things that go bump in the night. You're fascinated by them. So I'm offering you a unique opportunity, once in a lifetime chance, to not just read a horror story, but to live one. I have an apartment for sale. A beautiful corner unit on the 14th floor. State of the art. Motivated seller. I can get you a fantastic price. It's an immersive experience. A home with real character. A place that truly becomes a part of you. It's waiting for its next occupant. It's getting hungry. Are you interested? The key is waiting. The end. Wow. That was a really good story. I really liked it a lot. I think there was a lot of things in there that they don't really get used too often, I think. I really like the way that the story was written. I like how we kind of learn things as the character learned things. I think a lot of times in stories, it's easy to portray the story in such a way where the reader kind of has this omniscience about it. But I think in horror, one of the greatest strengths is that you don't really understand what's going on until you see it or until you read it. That really helps to sell those points of, well, horror. I think in this situation, I probably would have probably done something the same. Yeah. I think there are a lot of people out there on those subreddits and on YouTube and in the other corners of the internet that would love to have the opportunity to at least try this. Now, with that being said, I think it just asks us to reevaluate our dreams once again, because I know that somebody would take that deal, and I know that's not a deal that anyone should take, if you understand what I'm saying. I think a lot of times we kind of romanticize or fantasize our passions and dreams and these hobbies that we have to the point where we don't really care what's at stake, we just want to be a part of them. And sure enough, if you want something enough, usually it finds a way of becoming reality. Anyways, my kobolds, what would you have done in this situation? What would you have done to free yourself of this curse, of this contract? Would you have done something similar as the protagonist, or would you have tried to stick it out and fight whatever came? Anyways, I love you. Hope you have a good day. Bye.